welcome in our next guest to the program. Joining us now, Jeffrey Small, partner at the Retirement Income Source. Jeffrey, it is great to have you back on the show. Now, Alex and I were just talking about Corning's earnings, but obviously as we look ahead, there are some much bigger names coming our way this week. We've got a monster week of earnings here. As far as your expectations, are you focused on these Mag 7 names we're hearing from? Or are you more interested in some of the other names?
I'm really focused on the Mag 7 names, specifically the three leaders, really, NVIDIA, Google, and Amazon. NVIDIA is the toll collector, Amazon's the landlord, and Google is the advertiser in terms of the revenue stream. And so, basically, NVIDIA controls the AI highway. Every model, every data center, every hyperscaler runs through them. Amazon has the distribution advantage with AWS. So as AI moves from build out to deployment, they're really the ones collecting recurring revenue. And Alphabet is the sleeper. They're using AI as enhancing their search, driving engagement, and their cloud business is finally scaling. So you've got infrastructure, distribution, and monetization. And so that's why those three lead the Mag 7 today.
As they lead, what does that really say about the rest of big tech here? Are they stalling or are they just lagging?
Well, outside of NVIDIA, the rest of the Mag 7 have been lagging except for Google and Amazon. And so this is really a three-stock trade out of the Mag 7. And as long as we have these three generals carrying the load of the Mag 7, the market can hit new peaks and new heights. But if NVIDIA sneezes or one of them sneezes, the whole market could get pneumonia.
So do we think there's a possibility where Apple and or Microsoft could reassert themselves as the leadership here? Or have we just structurally shifted away from them in the markets?
I think we're structurally shifting away from them. Good on earnings is not good enough. We have to exceed expectations, use monetization from MI to enhance earnings and revenues. And those three leaders that I've mentioned have the best option to do that. Microsoft and Meta would be my next picks. And of course, Apple and Tesla are at the bottom of the Mag 7 at this time, as far as holding them as a trade, where in 2021 and 20, owning those seven were all winner, winner, chicken dinner. That's not where we are today. We're in a selective tech environment. It's not all for one. You have to own the ones that are going to do well, or you're going to get left behind.
And Jeffrey, Alex Coffey and I were just talking about what you just said. Good is no longer good enough. We were looking at Corning, and I was talking about UPS even this morning. And what is better than good? How good do we have to be when the expectations are already so high, particularly for the three Mag 7 names that you say are prime for success here?
Well, I think really they've got to exceed guidance by a healthy margin. And so what would that be, 5-10%? And what we saw last quarter was NVIDIA blew out guidance, Meta blew out guidance, and the market was in a sell mode. And even though their earnings were phenomenal, what happened? They fell on good earnings. And so, I'm not saying that's going to happen again, but the possibility is there because the macro environment is uncertain right now, and rates are compressing profits. As rates go higher here, we're going to see sell-offs like we have today. And so it's the old story, rates go up, market prices fall. And so, for those three leaders, though, that we're speaking about, Marley, I really think that you want to start buying the dips, dipping your toes in at this time. And so we may not see these stocks cheaper than this ever again in the next 6 months.
All right, so let's play devil's advocate here because you just mentioned the uncertain backdrop that we have right now. So I feel like this question needs to be asked. Of the three that you're focused on, which one is at the greatest risk of potentially disappointing? And what happens to the market if that happens?
Well, I think they're all three in the stack for AI, the leaders of AI right now in terms of the hyperscalers and with NVIDIA providing the infrastructure. I think that the biggest one that would hurt the market the most if it sneezed or lowered guidance or had some type of negative tone to their earnings would be NVIDIA. And that would cause a massive sell-off. And when valuations get stretched like this, Marley, the market really becomes codependent on movement forward on earnings only. And so earnings have got to be greater than expected. Or we take a hiccup here because valuations are technically stretched. Now, in the Mag 7 minus Tesla, we're at 30, 35 times earnings right now on a forward basis. That's not too bad. I wouldn't say it's overbought, but we are pushing the boundaries of the norm here. And so one hiccup from any of the three, and we could see the bubble actually get popped by that little pinprick because valuations are stretched.
So let's focus on NVIDIA there, because you're not the first person to make the analogy that if NVIDIA sneezes, the market gets pneumonia, and there's a huge effect. And we've seen it before. If that happens, take me through the chain reaction, particularly because their earnings come at the end of earnings season. We won't hear from them almost for another month. They're May 20th. So we've got a few weeks here. Where do we see the biggest fallout if NVIDIA falters in any way?
Well, I think in all of the hyperscalers, obviously, and in all of the infrastructure plays, in the broader market and energy. And so NVIDIA is seeding every sector, every industry with AI technology to improve earnings and efficiencies. And so, it could crush the market, basically. I don't see that happening. I'm not a doom and gloomer here. I think the bullishness on NVIDIA is very strong for the next 12 months. But if there was a curveball that came out, something went wrong, that would basically collapse the market. So NVIDIA's valuations today are easily justifiable. We don't see that happening over the next 12 months.
All right, so with what you just said there with the bullish outlook, you expect this rally that we're seeing, despite the slight pullback today, to continue?
I do, and with the macro uncertainty, we'll see the market ebb and flow here, with potential for larger drawdowns based on energy, based on rates, based on geopolitical, and based on the Fed's posture. And so, with every new Fed chairman, we see the new Fed chair getting tested by the markets, and so he's gonna have to come right out of the gate here, Warshiz, and set the tone, and hopefully he's going to be speaking and he's saying what the market wants to hear.
And in terms of the rally itself, in terms of the breadth, what sectors or groups do you think need to step up to make this rally more durable?
Well, we've seen that already. We've seen in semis and industrials and small caps, they're doing very, very well right now. A lot of money's been moving in that direction. So we need the other 493 stocks to carry the market if the new leaders in the Mag 7 are going to be NVIDIA, Amazon, and Google. And so, that's been happening. And that's why we're in the middle of a rally right now, and we're hitting new peaks at this time. So we need the earnings to keep growing. 11% earnings growth is predicted for the next, 493 stocks that are out there. And for the Mag 3, I'll call them now, or the non-Mag 4, we see earnings growth between 20 and 45%, depending upon which holding you're talking about.
All right, let's just completely move away from these three AI leaders. Outside of big tech and the hyperscalers in the semi space, where are you finding opportunity right now, Jeffrey?
Well, I think energy is still a good bet at this time. Of course, industrials, materials, areas in small caps. I mean, you want to have a diversified portfolio at this time. You don't want to put everything into tech. And so it's intelligent to buy companies that have good earnings in those categories.
All right. Well, Jeffrey, we really appreciate you taking the time to be with us to help us preview some of the expectations for these names and what might happen in the market when we hear from these Mag 7 names this week. Jeffrey Small, partner at the Retirement Income Source.